All right, we're here for week 8 already. Halfway point of the season is just about here. Week 9, I guess, is technically since 17-week season, but half the games are in the books for most of these teams, and we're chugging along. So my fantasy team officially hit its plateau and is starting to nosedive now. So I had a few good weeks of putting up some good points and everything, and then it was just one of those weeks where everything that could have went wrong. The projections that I hate to put any faith in ESPN, they had me set up for I think 110 points at the start of the week. I didn't touch that by 30 points. So the guys that should have came through for me did not, and everything that could have gone right for Archie, I guess was my opponent this week, went right. So it was just one of those weeks. I don't know about you guys.
Just fine by me.
Yeah. Jeff, you got that
another week, another win.
I got that glorious W. It was everything that I've ever wanted. So I'm gonna try to keep on getting those.
well, guess what? I think we're going up against each other this week. So.
Oh boy! Oh boy!
Someone has to win that game. Well, I guess not.
No.
We did have one tie this year already.
Yeah.
So we could tie.
Yep.
I don't know what that would do for our playoff hopes. I think for either of us to get in at this point, we have to sort of win out.
You can still lose one more.
Yeah, it's close.
7 and
so
6.
We'll see. So, but yeah. So I guess that's it for us, man. It's dire straits.
It's win or go home. So.
It's rough.
I've been preaching that my team all week, Rob. So I hope you have yours mentally prepared.
I made some big I think waiver wire acquisitions. We'll get into them, but we'll see. Let's just start rolling. I want to blow through the injuries here real quick, and then I got a couple headlines, small-ish, that we'll get into. But I'll actually start with one of my waiver wire pickups. I went and got Bryce Brown.
That's an impact move.
Yeah, impact move. We'll see. It's questionable.
You realize he doesn't play for the Eagles anymore.
I know he doesn't. He plays for the Buffalo Bills. And I picked him up because of the history that I know he has with the Eagles. He did well when he was given the opportunity to be sort of a lead back. He had a couple of really good games. But, C.J. Spiller's out for the year with his shoulder injury, and then Fred Jackson probably won't be back for at least a few weeks. I think they were saying week 16, maybe. But, Brown got Jackson's vote of confidence for being an every down back. And I know they have Anthony Dixon, who's been active, and Brown is just getting activated this week. And the Bills also picked up Philip Tanner just as a emergency back.
Timeout.
Yo, go.
I was just looking, and none of I didn't get any of my waiver pickups. Someone else.
That's the downside of being good, I guess.
I guess so. I didn't think anyone was gonna. Well, I don't know. Maybe you guys, but there was somebody else in our league who picked up Dixon for the Bills, and I was like, he's not high on the list. If you click on players, you have to do your research. So I'm guessing a certain somebody on this podcast suggested it to a certain somebody in our league. That would be my guess.
Mark,
Mark.
You told your brother, didn't you?
It's going to be interesting, honestly, that situation to see who gets the carries, because Brown does have experience being a heavy load back, at least for just a few weeks in Philly. I know McCoy. I think he was injured for a little bit of the time last year, and Brown got some carries, and he did well. So it was just a matter that was a filled backfield to start the year, and it was going to take injuries for him to be able to get in there, and he has the opportunity. Let's see what he does with it. And same goes for Dixon.
I noticed I guess I have two questions. I noticed in the way things went down over the waiver wire, first of all, you had priority on Dixon, and you chose Brown instead of Dixon.
Me?
Yeah, you had the option to pick up Dixon first.
Yeah, I did. And it goes back to knowing what Brown did in Philly and seeing how much of a workhorse he is. I don't know Dixon that well, so I just went with my knowledge and gut.
Oh, here's my follow-up question then. Why not get both?
I had other roster spots to fill that I wanted to take a chance on, and I knew Brown and Dixon were going to be high, so I figured I didn't have a shot at getting both, so I went with
You're the worst team in the league. You can have any player you want.
I know, and I went.
Just one. He wouldn't be able to get two. Both players.
I don't think anybody was claiming Brown.
We'll see. It was a chance. Yeah, I thought
It is a flyer.
So,
Well, I'm going to propose this question since maybe you want to touch on it more in injuries, but like out of the 3 waiver wire like pickup backs, Trey Mason, I guess you call both of the Buffalo guys, and then Denard Robinson. Which one would you guys go for?
I considered Robinson. I'll tell you that because I know that he had a monster week and he's getting projected for a monster week. But my concern there is, one, he's going up against a Miami defense that's getting Deion Jordan back this week, and they looked mighty impressive against the Bears last week. So in that instance, I didn't, and it's still the Jags. They're going to throw a lot. I know someone has to run the ball there, but it's one of those. I have a history of jumping on guys quick when they put up big points. I did this with Allen Hurns at the beginning of the year with the Jags, and I know I've done it in the past. Like Dexter McCluster will have a big week, and I'll pick him up, and then he'll do crap the rest of the year. So I'm sort of learning my lesson there, and I didn't want to do that with Robinson because I feel like that might be the case there.
All right, what about other people?
That's my opinion. You guys?
I was aware of Trey Mason. I never seriously considered him, though. I don't like St. Louis running backs. The second you hone in on somebody, bam, Benny Cunningham, like 15 carries, touchdown. It seems like they feel running backs mostly interchangeable, and they just ride the hot hand, and that's no fun.
Well, let's put it on record here. Let's put it on record here. Who's going to have the better year from week 8 on out? Trey Mason, not Dexter McCluster, but Denard Robinson, or any of the Buffalo running backs. So
Trey Mason.
I say Trey Mason also.
I just don't think it'll be much. I don't think much of any of them.
Max?
Yeah, I'd probably Mason. I agree.
Rob?
I think it'll be either of the Bills backs. Whoever gets the carries there.
All right, well then I'm going to Denard Robinson then if you guys don't believe in him. He looked good out there.
Pick him up.
I can't. Someone already did.
Big guy. He's a big guy. So.
Yeah.
I do think Jacksonville's turning the corner a little bit.
Rob, I remembered. Right, yeah, that's another reason why I actually had to. I think I was the worst team, not Rob. I think I was the worst team. So I had number 1 waiver priority, and I chose Trey Mason over Denard Robinson for the fact that Jacksonville's a bad team, St. Louis is bad.
Yeah.
And Trey Mason has the opportunity to compete for a starting role, while Denard Robinson was kind of like a filler for Toby Gerhart. Although Toby Gerhart didn't do anything this year, so
yeah, that's
midway through the season. You're just kind of picking at scraps. It's always good to take a flyer on touches.
Yeah,
any kind of touches you can get.
Rob, about 2 weeks ago, the wide receiver from Dallas, Kevin Ogletree.
Yep.
That was him.
Yep.
That was jumping on the big point first season, spending precious waiver order.
It happens with receivers all the time.
It's crazy.
Receivers for sure.
Crazy. So to quickly run through just the rest of the injuries, I only had a few more. Trent Richardson, hammy injury, not probably going to play this week. They were just sort of. There wasn't much concern that he would be out, but even still, someone owns Ahmad Bradshaw in your league, so you're not going to get him at this point.
And also, luck owners, man, that's extra points because they won't run it all in the red zone. Bradshaw's like a passing down back, and Richardson's a dirty touchdown vulture.
Yes, he is. Now instead of vulturing, he'll just get them as it is. So. We already mentioned Gerhart foot injury. Robinson looked sharp, so pick him up. He's probably available if you are desperate. He's a popular ad this week. Gerhart, foot injury.
Irrelevant.
He could be back. Irrelevant. He could be back, but the thing is, at this point, if Robinson has another week like he did have last week, Gerhart's probably going to be losing touches at this point.
No, it's too late. That tape's already out there. We'll never discuss Gerhart ever again in our lives.
Okay.
Irrelevant to future discussion.
That's fair. More running back news. Pierre Thomas shoulder played through it last week, and probably will go this week. So just keep an eye on it. And then Sproles, his MCL sprain, they had a bye, rested it. He's been practicing this week. They haven't put out an official word on whether he'll play. I think he'll go, but hold off and see. I mean, he's going up against a pretty tough Cardinals defense this week.
What's his injury designation? Is he
MCL.
questionable?
Out right now. I think it might have been upgraded to questionable. Let me take a quick.
Sounds
look.
like it might be doubtful.
It's questionable. He's listed as
Questionable.
questionable. So
Well, that's good.
he says he's fine. So it's up to the coaches. And then just really quickly, 2 more. AJ Green should be back this week. So owners, just keep an eye. His toe injury. Marvin Lewis is sort of wafting on it. Not going to give a clear sign to the Ravens, but I'd imagine he'll be in the lineup. And then RG3, there's talk in DC down here that he could be good to go, but they already declared Colt McCoy the starter, and if you're starting him, then I don't know what the hell you're doing with your roster because that's a mess.
Taking a chance.
No way, I disagree. I think Colt McCoy has always been better than most people have given him credit for.
Oh, don't go there. No.
Don't go there,
Don't go there. All
girlfriend.
right, we're doing this. We're doing this. All right, fine. Colt McCoy is outside of his 70-yard his 6-yard pass turned 70-yard touchdown. He had 58 yards and 1 incompletion last week. Yes, he was like 10 for 11 for 58 yards. That's a 5.8% yards per completion. That's awful. That's like the lowest in the league by 4 yards. The guy can't complete a pass downfield.
I'll say this. We all have our crazy preferences. Some people might like Colt McCoy better than others. Others might look at Bryce Brown, 0 yards rushing on 0 attempts in the season. Hey, that's a crazy idea.
But look at his history. What has Colt McCoy done in the league? He started for 2 years.
He got a concussion.
Started for 2 years and has been a journeyman ever since.
So he had the Cleveland stink. It takes a while to get that off.
He didn't even start a game last year, did he?
No, he was backup in San Francisco.
Yeah, but I'm not even joking. Like, they ruined him as a young quarterback. He was like the worst situation possible.
And that's just what you got to go with. I mean, maybe eventually this could be the start of something for him, but I just don't think so. I don't.
Yeah, I agree with Rob because I mean they took Kirk Cousins, who I mean he was an okay quarterback and he's thrived. So I mean, why do you think that Jay Gruden's going to be able to turn around the trash from Cleveland?
The funniest line that I saw this week in the Post's paper was about, if you look at it, the first pass that any I almost said the Arbor, any Washington quarterback has thrown over in replacement of an injured quarterback, the first pass is always a touchdown. So they were like, if we could just get 400 first-time quarterbacks, like just come in for one snap, we'd be great.
He did win the game.
He did. It was, he manufactured a nice little drive, a couple pass interference calls, and
he's a winner.
He's a winner.
Like Tim Tebow.
But no, seriously though, with that RG3 injury, I think if it's up to Gruden, if he's making the calls, RG3 sits for at least a couple more weeks. So because there's no use risking injury again coming back too soon. So
well, what do they care? He'll be gone in like a year anyway.
That's when he does come back. I think he comes back for a couple weeks at the end of the year just to get evaluated at this point.
Yeah, I think he's out the door after next season, if that. That'll
be interesting to watch.
Depending on where they pick, they could cut bait with him this year. I know they.
Yeah. I mean, if they want like Mariota, if they're bad enough, they could probably get him.
Yeah. No Sam Bradford situation. Just make your choice and live with it.
Yeah, we'll see. So, quick headline I wanted to go on is one more injury is Megatron made the trip to London with the Lions, so keep an eye on that. It's still sort of like a game time thing at this point, but there's that.
We won't know because we won't be awake.
9:30 that game. 9:30.
I love those the special like the divorce games.
It's gonna be fun. But 9
a.m. to like 1 a.m.
Yeah. But one quick headline I wanted to run through. Obviously, the big NFL headline this week was Peyton Manning setting the touchdown mark. Just yes or no, real quick. Do you think he hits 600?
Yes, I do.
Like in his whole career?
Yeah. By the time he retires, does he have 600 touchdowns?
I don't think so. No.
How many left? What's he at right now?
5'10".
5'10".
No, doesn't hit it.
I think he does. I think he's got 2 more. He's at 5'10" after Sunday.
I thought he was at 5'11".
It doesn't look like he's. I mean, it looks like he got to like 800. I mean, honestly, he looks that good. But I just think that when the decline hits, it's going to hit hard. So I think this team, they're not going to be able to keep the wide receivers around them. I think eventually people are going to want more money, and people are going to go on. So I think that
it'll be next guy. In my opinion, in that case, it'll be next guy up, and he'll make that guy an all-star.
Absolutely. He always has. He makes lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah, I think he's got 2 more years, and I don't think he goes far over 600, but I think he hits 600.
Yeah.
So.
People are speculating now because we have nothing else to talk about, like future guys that might run them down, like run down Manning's record. And how it's
Someone was saying Austin Davis. I think Brett Favre was on record today saying Austin Davis might be the next Brady or Warner.
It's luck. So. It's got to be luck, right?
Yeah,
that's like the obvious.
Luck was the consensus. Brady Warner is like the unexpected turn.
I got a good one though that I don't think I've heard anyone bring up. Brett Favre. Claims his record.
comes back just to keep pace with Manning.
Real quick, does anyone really believe that Brett Favre doesn't watch football?
No, there's no way.
Did he say that?
Yeah, he says he doesn't watch a lot of football anymore, so he didn't see it.
He didn't see him breaking his record.
That's a flat-out lie. That's a flat-out.
I've seen the tape. He's out in the backyard with his Wranglers on, throwing around the guys.
He's preparing for Max. You can't watch football if you're preparing for a comeback. Okay.
Yeah.
No time to
getting phone calls last year.
Oh, man. That's too much. All right, so jumping along, we got our right and wrong of last week, and I'm tired of talking, so who's going to start the segment?
I'll
God.
I just real quick, because there was literally, it was one of those games where I couldn't have done anything. I made all the right moves. It was an unfortunate week. The league was depending on me. I was going up against Goliath, the undefeated Goliath of our season. Of our league, and he beat me by 6 points. It was fortunate for him that Jimmy Graham was coming off of that injury. I still didn't start Jimmy Graham because of that injury, and he threw up 0 points, but he did play. But I made all the right moves. ESPN told me to start Cam Newton, and I started Carson Palmer instead, and it was the right move, and it just wasn't enough. Lost by 6 points. Sorry, I let the league down. Sorry, guys.
That's all right. It's okay.
I'll go next. My team put up a decent bit of points, and finally I was rewarded for it with a W. And I shouldn't say this because in case like I want to trade any of my guys, because 3 people are in the league now, and probably at least another 4 people watch this every week. But my guys all put up a deceptive 20. I mean, if you watch the Pitt game, Le'Veon Bell did it in the receiving, which he's always good for at least like 30-some yards, 30 to 50 yards, but he did in the receiving, which just doesn't happen. Shane Vereen caught 2 touchdowns. Ronnie Hillman had 2 rushing touchdowns. I mean, like a weird, fluky pass interference call put him on the 1-yard line, and they decided to put Ronnie Hillman in. So, although I won and I was happy, all my guys performed well except Jay Cutler. It was a deceptive win, so I'm not too happy with it. A lot of touchdowns, a lot of weird touchdowns that just doesn't happen.
You're the Pittsburgh Steelers of fantasy.
Oh, I absolutely am. Yes.
A lot of weird touchdowns, a lot of fluky wins.
Yep.
It's only when the heat's on, like when you really need to
absolutely. Yeah.
If you look just at the teams, I had a team that should have won. I had Peyton Manning going up against Brian Hoyer. That alone should have been enough, but no. The problem with my matchup was that I was going up against Demaryius Thomas as well. So Peyton's to all his touchdowns. The fact that the quarterback's touchdowns in our leagues are worth 4 points and receivers are worth 2. Thomas essentially equaled Manning's touchdown output, even though Peyton threw 2 more touchdowns to 2 different receivers. Thanks, Mark.
Standard scoring, you'd think everyone in the country.
But outside, so essentially that Manning led my team. He had 30, but that got canceled out by Thomas. And then Foster and Odell Beckham were my next two highest scorers with 16 each, and then after that it was just junk. Gore didn't put up anything. Edelman didn't put up anything. Vernon Davis has been doing crap, and Andre Holmes didn't come through.
Did you see that blue vulture touchdown?
I
you
did,
get to
and
watch
that
the
really
game?
pissed me off.
That
pissed
was
me
terrible.
off. Blue, man. Foster looked like he was having a really good. He was in for a really good game, and ended up only. I mean, it was a good game. It was a decent game, but it just wasn't enough. With
You ran into the steel curtain. That's what happened.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Those 3 minutes, and that touchdown or the fumble. I mean, obviously, when you lose by almost 40 points, it doesn't really matter. But that fumble really hurt.
Scoring, Mark. That
Really
QB scoring. You fucking needed those extra 6 points.
That really hurt. But it's crazy because then even you look at the team I went up against, it only had 3 guys in double digits, and everything else it just didn't work out. I don't know. And the problem was I couldn't really do anything else wrong except I can't put Eli in my flex position.
I can't
So that wasn't going to help. So I did what I could. So
Foster looked amazing. I watched that entire
he was
game,
great.
and I mean, I know is he like questionable like every single week though?
It seems that way.
It's gonna happen. He's gonna get hurt. I know it.
That's the problem. He's such a workhorse. I mean, and the crazy thing is, if you look prior to last week, I think he hit 100 yards last week. So if he was not injured for that one game, he would have been matching what's his name, DeMarco Murray for 100-yard games to start the season. He's had 100 yards in every game except the game he was hurt. So, I mean, he's been putting up the yards and the points, and he's been doing me well when he's healthy. It's just a matter of keeping him that way. And I don't know, that Denver game, they
that was a kind of weird game, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so Gore
Frank Gore
and Davis did nothing for me.
Yeah, what he put up like 2 points, 3 points.
Yep, 2 each.
So yeah, that was kind of atypical. I mean, I wouldn't feel concerned about Gore if I was you going forward. He's a solid number 2 back. So
yeah. But that was so it was all wrong, not a lot of right this week.
Well, let's hope that trend continues next week, huh?
We'll see. Anyone else not go?
I still get to go. All right. Well, I don't want to spoil a later segment where I pat myself on the back for some correct predictions. So let's start off with just to get on the level with everyone else, show that I'm not completely perfect when I make these choices. And we'll talk about something I harped on a lot last week, and it was Kirk Cousins. And specifically, his road to success, as I remember describing it, was don't throw 4 interceptions. He didn't do that, but
He got
he still failed. He failed as a fantasy quarterback. And I would have lost because I try to take the advice I give out on the show seriously and actually follow it. So I had Cousins over Breeze, and then 12:55 rolled around, and I looked at that lineup and I thought to myself, is this really how I'm going to go? Kirk Cousins is the hill I want to die on. And common sense prevailed, and I was able to bench Cousins in time, and now he'll never play for me again. He's cut.
So do you owe an apology, man?
Two.
To everyone that you preached Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
But it was a quick hook.
Did you pull Matt Berry and get on it on Twitter at like 12:55 and tweet it out? Hey, nope, never mind, changed my mind. Breeze over Cousins.
Well, what I was talking about last week, I talked to him. It was more like describing a curiosity. Like I said, look at this bad quarterback that scores 20 points every week. It wasn't like one-star Kirk Cousins. And I don't know, he got benched. If he didn't get benched, he probably would have thrown like some 200 garbage yards in the second half, maybe like a touchdown or something.
True.
There would have been a couple. Who knows? Maybe he would have thrown like 3 picks in the second half, and I would have gotten off the hook because I said that he throws 4 picks.
Oh man, so you're gonna leave it at that and save whatever you were wanting to talk about?
Well, yeah. Another thing, I think I mentioned Drake Bell sneakily becoming
The bandwagon fan, CEO of the Joint Bell fan club, right there, Mark Erlitz.
No seats open, by the way. But I think Reggie Bush is like not relevant anymore this year. I think it's all Bell all the time.
Oh.
I think it might be over for him for good.
You might want to I was gonna say save that, but
Yeah, that's a bold prediction.
I'll say it again later, but yeah, Drake Bell.
all right. Well, who wants to move? Take the MVP of last week first.
Oh, it's easy. I can. You can just play previous weeks for me.
Yeah.
All I have to say is DeMarco Murray is awesome, and you can just play that for the rest of the season because that's how it's gonna be.
That's
Awesome.
the bottom line.
Yeah.
Max Parker said so.
He needs the bye week to come because man, he needs a break. He's just
Yeah.
That's the big concern with him.
Yeah, everyone's thinking that it's going to happen, and they've been saying that the decline is going to happen at some point, and every week he proves them wrong. He's just awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mark?
Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
That is
I
that's
second
alarming.
that. I second that.
When a fringy starter does that, 300 yards passing and 100 yards rushing, that's
time in NFL history.
damaging.
Yeah.
But isn't that
NFL history.
wasn't that stat a little misleading considering like wasn't going into like the second half and he had like 2 points?
Doesn't matter if you put those points on the board. That
Yeah,
I mean-
the thing is, this is a team I think that he's going to have to be doing that to stay in games at this point. I know that's crazy. I know that's. I'm not saying that Seattle's in trouble. Some could make that argument. Looking at how they've been over the. I know looking at how they've been over the past 2 weeks. But I mean, trading Percy Harvin, I think is going to. People are like applauding it. Some people are saying they had to do it. Obviously, it's the cancer in the locker room situation. But that's going to. His health aside, that's a big loss for them. I mean, it's yards. It's a playmaker. And someone's going to have to step up to fill that role. And it's Doug Baldwin. You can make a case that it's that guy. I'd gladly make the case because he was my second waiver wire pickup this week. But someone's going to have to step up to be that playmaker. And at this point, it's him. Marshawn Lynch is disgruntled behind him. He didn't want Harvin to get traded. He's pissed off.
Yeah.
Someone's got to keep that team in order. And at this point, it's Russell Wilson.
I don't know. I even considered adding it or putting him in as my MVP, but just for the fact that I was watching a little bit of that game and I was actually against Russell Wilson last week, so I was really looking at what stats he was doing, and I turned that game off like at the end of the third quarter or beginning of the third quarter, and Russell Wilson, they were getting destroyed. Russell Wilson didn't do anything, and I was confident that I dodged a bullet per se. And then, he does put it up at the end. And I just question how much of it was garbage points, how much was I don't know. But it is remarkable that he could do it.
70 yards in the fourth quarter, rushing.
Yeah, that's not an indicator of future success, but it's just nice it's good to admire in retrospect.
Good to know that it's there. I mean, he's had 2 30-point games in his last 3 games. So, and he's been doing it with his feet. So when you have that kind of sneaky threat, because you always think of him. I mean, he's a mobile quarterback, but you don't think of him consistently carrying the ball Cam Newton style. But he's doing it and doing it successfully. And
he doesn't. Sorry to interrupt you, but
No.
he does it in a way that he's not taking big hits. He sees the first down, he extends the ball, then he gets down. He's like just a really intelligent football player.
Yeah. Is he your MVP, Seth, or you got someone else? in mind?
My MVP is Percy Harvin, and I think he should be the MVP every single week because he had the foresight to get in a fist fight with his teammate the day of the Super Bowl, just because he knew that he wouldn't be getting any real action in Seattle, and that they would have to trade him to the horrible Jets, where he's going to be. I just imagine him just getting force-fed the ball all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna on that point. Do you think I have Eric Decker sitting on my roster? Should Decker owners be worried?
No, I think with Decker had Demaryius Thomas, Wes Welker. Do you have Wes Welker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year.
So I mean, and that if anything, that made Eric Decker's value go up because there was more targets, and he did have Peyton Manning. But I think if anything, it's going to take some of the heat off of Eric Decker being a number one. I mean, he might not get. I don't know how his year's been.
He was getting targeted pretty heavily. I mean, he's getting like double-digit targets a game.
I think he'll decrease in the targets, but I think that his production will still be there just because he'll be more wide open. So.
I will ask this: what are the odds that Harvin actually does anything with the Jets? It's not like he didn't have an opportunity in Seattle.
Yeah, he didn't have an opportunity. I saw him. He wasn't on plays. He was their third wide receiver, and I don't think that's going to be the case now.
Yeah, but in New York, it's not exactly like
This is
the 99 Rams or anything. They're not like
weird to think about, but this is weird to think about. But I think that it's a dysfunctional locker room to say the least. But I think it's the locker room that suits him best.
Yeah,
Suits his personality, and I think it's
Absolutely.
crazy. It's very
It's super
loopy
crazy.
thinking and whatnot, but it fits him, and I think he'll be happy. And
I think Seattle
Right.
was. Just look at their quarterback. Look at Russell Wilson. Like, he was a company man. He was like, oh, yeah, do whatever I need to do. Every single time, like, he was up on the podium, it was all about the team, all about winning. And he didn't put up very great stats, but he wasn't concerned about that. He was concerned about winning. And I think the Jets aren't concerned about winning. They're just concerned about putting up stats and making it a somewhat, close game.
All right, I'll frame it this way: that there are two scenarios. All right, imagine the skill player goes to the Jets. The player flourishes or the player flounders. Which one
Flourishes.
what do you think is more likely? Just in general, a skill
Just in
player
ge-
going to
just
that
in-
Jets offense.
Just in general, it flounders.
Can you name one player that's gone to the Jets and their fortunes dramatically improved?
Exactly. That's the key.
Yeah, think about it. Think about look at that just off the top of my head. LaDainian Tomlinson, Chris Johnson, Santonio Holmes. Now you got Percy Harvin going there. Brett Favre. How'd Brett Favre do when he went there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael
Crazy
Vick.
to think about. Vic.
Vic.
Uh,
That team
Or
is
it goes on and on.
What
And-
what were they coming from? I mean, Percy Harvin put up 0 points like his last game. He
Okay,
had
let's
like
put it this way:
two
Uh,
attempts.
High week, wasn't it?
compared to receivers from last year, Eric Decker and Percy Harvin, in terms of production, Decker like blew Harvin away. Even I know Harvin was hurt last year, but just in general in his career, like in terms of success, now they both play for the same team. Like, look how it's working for Decker. He's like irrelevant.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Maybe that's
But-
because they need that big play like Percy Harvin.
We'll see. It'll be interesting to watch. It gives them two top flight receivers. It's just
Yep.
who do you trust Geno Smith throwing them the ball?
Nope.
That offensive line holding
Negative.
up to give him time to throw them the ball?
He's not afraid. He's not afraid to gun it. And who cares if they lose? They lose. It's just as long as they're chucking the ball. That's all I care about. That's all fantasy owners should care about.
Yeah, it's true.
There's
That's true.
many of wide receivers have made their fame in garbage time. So I mean, that might be Percy Harvin's role in fantasy.
I think Harvin's like a year and a half from being out of the league.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's fair.
He's already on the Jets. That's step one.
Just end the show there. That's perfect.
That's perfect.
You need on the Jets to get out of the league or get on a better team.
Oh man. So to try to transition away from that, MVP for this upcoming week, I'm going to be boring here, and I'm going to say that it's Russell Wilson.
Ooh, that's not boring.
It is. It kind of is, only because he was the MVP of last week. I'm saying it for this week, but it's crazy to think about this a year ago, but it's because he's going up against the Carolina defense. Carolina's D is the worst team in the league in terms of yards per rush at 5.3 yards. And if that's the route that Wilson decides to go to try to win the game, he can do it. And yeah, I think he's primed for a big game, even though it's in Carolina. They've utterly stunk this year in terms of defense. That whole NFC South has been terrible. Coming off of a loss to, I just can't see Seattle losing 3 in a row. So I think he's in prime position to have just another monster game.
I'm sorry, Rob. I agree and I disagree with you at the same time because I agree. I don't see Seattle losing 3 straight, but it's because of that I don't see Russell Wilson having to do as much. I think they get the running game a little more involved. Their defense plays a little harder, and I think he puts up one of his 17-point weeks, 200 yards passing, maybe 2 touchdowns, something like that.
That's fair.
I guess I'll transition to mine. I think this guy needs to have an MVP week. He's had an okay year. I think currently he's in 9th place after a really bad performance last week. Kind of got called out by some teammates, but playing against New England, which they can always put up a large amount of points. I'm going to go with Jay Cutler. I think this is a make or break game for him. I don't know if he's on a lot of pressure in Chicago, but especially after last year going out with the injury, having McCown come in, perform really, really well, start the season pretty good, and then kind of lose a couple games mid-season. I think that he has a lot to prove to his teammates and a lot to prove to his critics, so I think he has a monster game this week.
Interesting point to make off of that, because I was going to mention this in the matchup segment, but Cutler is a different quarterback on the road in a really good way. His completion percentage is roughly similar. It's like at home it's 66, on the road it's closer to 69%. But he's throwing. This could be a case of because he's played more road games. I'm not sure how many they've had, but he's thrown almost 300 more yards on the road. His yards per attempt is up half a yard. He's got 9 touchdowns to only 2 picks on the road, where he's 5-5 at home. And his rating, I don't know how much stock you want to put into a rating, but 104.6 on the road versus just 82 at home.
No.
So I mean, he's a road quarterback right now. For whatever reason, they haven't been playing well at Soldier Field, and that's been talked about a lot this year.
Yeah.
And the fact that he is coming off of a pretty crappy game against a still decent defense, he's due, I think, and I don't want him to be due because he's going up against the Patriots defense. But he could, I second that opinion. He could be due for a big weekend. Needs one for his own sake.
And I don't mean to try to backtrack or cover my butt, but I could easily see him going in there throwing like 3 interceptions, like 2 of them being pick sixes, and just getting absolutely demolished too. I could easily see both of those scenarios happening.
Cool. Next.
There's still MVP. They're still on MVP for
this upcoming week.
Yeah, it's easy. DeMarco Murray. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Used to. We don't have to talk to you two because it's Murray and Luck.
And Luck, yeah.
Now I'm going to use up all the time that I squandered in the previous weeks because I have a very long and elaborate explanation for my future MVP.
Let's go.
Okay. The short of it is the MVP is Ryan Tannehill, but this is only in 2 specific scenarios. Scenario A, you have like a high-end quarterback like Andrew Luck and like Peyton Manning, but you're like hovering on the edge of playoff contention, like say you're 2-5. It looks pretty hopeless, and to be realistic, it probably is a lost cause. But you need to make a desperation move. So you have like one obvious strength, and that's QB. So you do some sort of trade where you sell high on like Luck, you completely punt the QB position and load up elsewhere. Then you bring in someone like Tannehill, and you realize, wait a minute, he doesn't suck. He is actually above average. You look down the numbers, and you see 2 touchdowns, just like steady 2-touchdown production. Like he's getting better during the year, and he has a good matchup. You just
counter argument. That's only 8 points in our league.
True, but also in our league, he had 23 points last week. That's not gonna kill you. That's pretty good, and he has a nice matchup coming up. Scenario B, you have someone like Cam Newton who completely sucks, and you want to settle for like decently above average. I think. Like, if you're going to take a shot at someone that nobody has blowing up this week, you might as well take Tannehill. Because he might eke out a 3-touchdown game and 300, and you're getting that for free.
Yeah.
If you redistribute your assets.
Are you looking at him on fantasy right now?
Yeah.
By any chance, what's his ownage percentage?
It is 21.6, and his start rate is 2.7.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, he's there. He's there.
Like 20 points a game. If you have a good team elsewhere, that's not that bad.
What's his position rank?
He is 18th, which doesn't seem very impressive, but he started slow.
Yeah.
And there's not really anybody to poach touchdowns. Like Lamar Miller is like their only like relevant running back, and he's not like a bruiser or anything.
That's fair. I like that. That's a good answer. So unless anyone has anything else there. And Luck. So matchups you're looking forward to, and those to avoid.
Notice I advocated to trade Luck and name them MVP. That's what we like to call being a commenter.
Matchups I love, and this is a Pittsburgh-based. Well, 3 of the people are Pittsburgh area in this podcast, but man, do I love the Colts this week. That matchup is awesome. The Steelers, I don't care that they won. They still looked bad. You take
Looked
away
terrible.
those blunders.
You
those
take away the
blunders.
the 3 last minutes of the first half.
You take away that novel that Houston wrote on how to blow a football.
Man.
And Steelers are still a bad. Like that was a bad game for the Steelers.
How did it, Max? How is your starting every team against the Giants going for matchups to look at?
I mean, they're
The
still bad.
defenses.
I expected the Cowboys to do better because I started the Cowboys against the Giants, but I mean,
What'd they give you points wise?
I think 3.
Ooh.
Yeah, I have 2 defense. I would have rather started the Eagles, but the Eagles were on the bye. So
No, you wouldn't have. You said that you start every team against the Giants, mister.
Eagles, no, but Eagles defense, they're on a
They're
tear.
on
They
fire.
always get a special
Number
team or
1 defense
defense
in the league.
touchdown. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I
3 points. Yeah,
are you good? Done with your matchup?
yeah.
All right.
I just-
I'm gonna throw a couple out there that I'm in favor of. One is that 9:30 a.m. game in London. Detroit and Atlanta. I'm really looking forward to it, and here's why. If you look at the last few games that were played over there, they've been some really high-scoring games. And stop it down there.
Sorry. Sorry.
I like it because they've been really high-scoring games, and I think those 2 offenses are primed for some high-scoring affairs. And defense doesn't, I don't know what that kind of travel does to a team that has to try to stop an explosive offense, but the teams that have been tasked with doing that over the last few years in London haven't been able to. So I don't know if it's something on the Wembley field grass or whatever, but I expect that to be like a 30-40 type game.
Wow.
So both offenses, to anyone in those offenses, I think are good to start. Another one, I mentioned this sort of a little bit ago, but the Cutler on the road, something to look forward to. I know it's against Patriots defense that's been doing pretty well against the pass this year. I think they're top 5 defense against the pass in terms of yards, but for whatever reason, Cutler is playing well on the road, so it's just something to consider. And then one to avoid, Max, I'm hoping you're going to start your Dallas defense this week because they're at home against the Washington football team, and that's glorious if you ask me. They got Colt McCoy coming in on Monday Night Football under the bright lights. That sounds like a recipe for disaster. Do you think they go back to Cousins at halftime? How about that? Does it get that bad?
Now, see, this is a funny matchup because I love the Dallas D in this matchup, but I also like Colt McCoy. So I think the Dallas D is going to do really well, but it won't be because of Colt McCoy. He'll complete all of his passes, but then all the receivers will fumble.
Another note on that game is Alfred Morris is a guy you might want to consider sitting. He's had like an year. Hasn't had a 100-yard rushing game, and going into that game, I don't think that they're going to be rushing the ball a lot. So
yeah, it's next stop Jets for him, I think.
It's not his fault. It's a bad Redskins team.
It really isn't. Oh, don't say the R word.
All right.
Bad Washington DC
All right.
team.
With that horrible slur aside, I don't like the tone of this conversation. And all right. Well, first of all, I think Washington wins that game on Monday night, and Dallas is not going to go 7-1. That's just not going to happen. This team was supposed to be like a joke this year. I don't like how everyone is just speaking in absolutes. Like this is going to be a whitewashing. Like Murray's just going to mow them down for 100 yards and just cruise to 7-1. Like when has that ever happened?
They haven't been winning sloppily. They've been winning pretty. Yeah. They have looked strong every week, and Washington looks like a joke every week. I mean, there's no way I'll take that.
I'm not buying it. I think there's a Romo pick six.
I'm muting it.
Yeah.
Minus points. I need to figure out a point system on here.
Yeah.
Nobody else sees this though. This is like a walking trap. Like we're gonna talk up Dallas. Dallas is gonna win every game. Nothing bad can happen to Dallas. Tony Romo, everything's going just fine. Like A-OK. Yes.
I think Dallas came into the league or this year with such like oh man, what's Tony Romo about? The defense is historically bad. That the hate was so strong on Dallas that they have been able to like slip under people's radar. And I think that like coming up pretty soon, like halfway through the season, they're gonna drop a game or maybe two that people are like, what? Like I thought Dallas was really good. Maybe they're not so good. And this could possibly be it.
All right, another point. When's the last time you saw Tony Romo have fun on a primetime game? Like, do you remember anything going well, like under the bright lights? In Dallas too. How unprofessional. No, like, I just don't see it.
That's fair. It's totally fair. So,
I'm going
did
to
you guys hear
assume
this?
good things that'll happen.
What's that?
Can you guys hear that when I play it?
No.
No.
No. Man, I'm playing Admiral Akbar.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
This is not the trap game. I'm sorry.
Hey, me and Mark are like 2 for 3 on the, or like 2 for 2 or 3 for 3 on the year. We called that Steeler trap game. We're like, listen, Steelers are going to win that game. We don't know how, but then they're going to lose to the Jets. But matchup I really like this week is Green Bay and the Saints. I think it's an interesting game for New Orleans. If they're going to pull their season out from disarray, they got to definitely do it. And Green Bay is a crazy hot team right now. Aaron Rodgers beast moding it like he did. I read an article somewhere, Rob, it might have been yours, that he's actually playing better now than he did whenever he won the MVP in 2010 or 11. So Aaron Rodgers, I think it's one of those games where it's a low-scoring game at first, like going into half, maybe like 10 to 14 or something like that, and then explosion the rest of the way. Mark Ingram, I really like him in that game. Pierre Thomas is out, so even though he's playing with the cast on his hand, I like him in that game. I think he could be. Well, I'll just save it for the next section.
Totally fair.
I got one more. One more good one. Seattle at Carolina. I do not like Seattle in this game.
Oh boy.
What?
No way. Carolina's a bad team. They're a bad football team.
Yeah.
But they have, like, they're feisty though. They know they're probably bad, but this is their last stand. They used to have a good defense. I don't think it's all gone in a year. They're playing at home. You can go either way on this. I just don't see it. I think Seattle.
The Steelers beat Carolina at home.
Yeah.
And the Steelers are bad.
By that logic, I guess I'm saying the Steelers could be
The
the
Pittsburgh Steelers.
But seriously, look at this. Seattle cannot generate a pass rush, and now they're going to go 3,000 miles and play an early game and beat
Put too much
a
stock on
competent
that.
team.
They lost to the Rams.
They're 3-3-1. That's not that bad. And Newton is a decent quarterback, and he's going to have time to do stuff.
They didn't lose to the Rams. They lost to Jeff Fisher. When you take those two genius plays out of there, and Seattle wins.
That's true.
Yeah.
Random factoid about this. That's a CBS game, despite both teams being in the NFC.
Weird.
What?
That's got to be an error.
I don't like that.
This is on the NFL. This is on the NFL app. It's Sunday at 1, and it's labeled as a CBS game.
Weird.
Seattle used to be in the AFC.
I know they used to, but I don't know what's happening there.
Right,
Maybe a mistake, but
I don't see it. I'm sorry. Seattle, they're not going to travel well, and they're having issues. And I like Carolina more than most, I think.
it's fair. So I guess you want to start that with bold predictions. You could say that Carolina beats Seattle on the road.
Okay.
In
Well, I think I already said that. We'll go to Pierre Garcon, 150 yards receiving, 1 touchdown. Or actually, no, flip that. 100 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns.
I want to take a moment to review. I know we talked about this last week. We had a back and forth. We had flip-flops of bold predictions. I think I made the bold prediction, and then you took the opposite. I said last week that Smith was going to outduel Rivers and Chargers would win the game, and you said the exact opposite. I'd like to say that it's technically a push because Rivers and Smith both put up 14 points. He won the game. So.
The tie goes to the winning team. So.
So we apologize for all the people that watched that 5 segments of their life completely wasted.
Oh man. I'll go with a bold one. I'm again going to involve the Chiefs in this bold prediction, and Austin Davis is going to make a name for himself and I believe Brett Favre. And they're on the road against Kansas City this week. I think they go in there and blow out the Chiefs. And Chiefs are coming off of a big win themselves. I think they have Denver coming up in a couple weeks, maybe next week. And I love St. Louis going in there and destroying Kansas City. Crazy to think about. They're coming off a big win themselves. And just another, it's an opportunity for them to sort of make a name, and Jeff Fisher is really doing well there. With the injuries he's had to deal with and all that good stuff, but why not Austin Davis, top 5 quarterback this week?
Nice. Mark Ingram, 150 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, top 3 back this week.
Isn't Mark Ingram hurt?
No,
He's back.
Pierre Thomas is
Pierre
hurt.
Thomas is hurt. That's right.
Mark Ingram will play, and they're going to try to keep Aaron Rodgers off the field as much as they can. A possession game. I think Green Bay's plan will be try to limit Jimmy Graham, try to limit Drew Brees, leave some nice yardage open for Mark Ingram.
Here's a bold prediction for you. I'm looking at my fantasy matchup. And my bold prediction is that I lose to a team who still has Adrian Peterson on the roster. I guess he doesn't listen to our podcast.
Is he starting?
No, he's not starting, but he's on the bench. I guess he's holding out
Just in
come
case.
on.
Just in case.
Not guilty. Not you.
He was set up.
Miscarriage of justice. Miscarriage of justice.
Yeah. No, but my actual bold prediction is that the Saints beat the Packers.
That's bold.
That's semi-bold.
That's bold. Bold.
Give me some fantasy bold predictions.
No, I don't have any.
All right, I got some more. Shane Vereen, under 8 carries total in the game this week.
I could see it.
So you're saying it's going to be Pats?
No, I'm going to say Belichick yanks the curtain back, and all of a sudden Bolden or that other guy that we can't remember gets a bunch of carries.
He's apt to do that. That's definitely fair.
And I got another one, and well, this shouldn't be fantasy relevant because you don't know how you're playing fantasy then. But Houston, Tennessee, 4 quarterbacks will be used in that game. Both teams will get to the back.
Wow.
You know what? I'm gonna go with Peyton Manning finishes not top 10 this week.
Not top 10.
Wait, Seth. How many podcasts have we done where you have doubted Peyton Manning and been wrong every single week?
Let him do it. Let him do it.
Listen, okay.
You're
Listen,
gonna be right
Max,
one of these. Play
Max,
the odds.
Go ahead and check. Go ahead and check the quarterback position. All right, Mister. The quarterback standings. All
He's number 3.
All standings. Who's number 2, Rob?
I don't know.
Oh well, I'll tell you who. Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
Okay, Max. We had a bet that Aaron Rodgers would outperform Peyton Manning this year, and so far he is.
Keep going. Let's keep watching. We're not even halfway.
I could have drafted Aaron Rodgers after Peyton Manning this year. So if you would have picked Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers outperforming him.
There's a lot of the season left.
It's a Thursday night game this week.
Mm-hmm.
I know offenses tend to do well. I think old Manning comes out and looks old.
We'll see. That's
not
your
top
bold
10.
prediction.
It's a bold prediction.
That is a bold prediction.
It is bold.
At least I give bold predictions that are fantasy relevant.
Here's another fantasy relevant bold prediction. Derek Carr outperforms Brian Hoyer.
Oof. Man.
I don't know. It's fantasy. Oh, it's sweating making that one. It's fantasy relevant in our league. I don't know how many teams are starting Brian Hoyer and Derek Carr. Brian Hoyer is owned in our fantasy league.
Brian Hoyer is owned because Nick Foles was on the bench
last week. Archie is starting Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, because Nick Foles was on bye.
Bye.
Rob Stott is the one-stop shop for start-set decisions for 20 team and above fantasy leagues.
That's so funny.
Whatever. So we're gonna end on that.
Here,
I guess so.
cleanse the palate. Nick Foles will solidify his status as a potential first-round pick in production by throwing for 15 points in fantasy.
15?
That's it.
That's
That's it?
that's
And then we
average.
still remember that first-round prediction.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, whatever. Stop. It's
Hey,
it's
when you put it on tape, it's there forever.
crazy. He's
forever.
shaky, but if he could figure it out, he legitimately would be. But
I love that you. That's that statement. You can say that about literally any NFL. If that quarterback can figure it out,
if he could just get accurate and find his open receivers, and throw touchdowns, he'd be doing himself well.
Hey, Max, also Eddie Lacy, Matt Forte. That was the other one. Forte's currently number 2. What's Lacy? Number 13.
Really?
If you give Lacey time to figure it out, and he'll be fine.
I gotta
Let his offensive line work it out and
He
find
just
some
needs to
holes
figure it
to
out.
just gotta find the yards. That's all. Oh man. Well, that's enough. So I'm ready to quit. So enjoy your week 8, and we'll see you back here next week for week 9.
Week